This is a delight to be here. We're so happy to be partners with you guys, and you'll be happy to hear the report, and I'm sure you're going to be happy to continue to be involved in what's going on in Papua New Guinea. But that was very good. I'm going to read something that just started out. There's 6.8 million people in the country of Papua New Guinea. In the rural area, at least 90% of the people have open defecation. 90% of the people do not have clean water. 100% of the people don't wash their hands before they eat or after they go to the bathroom. And there's high infant mortality rate, child mortality rate, maternal mortality rate, one of the highest in the Pacific countries and one of the highest in the world. So there's diseases like pneumonia, diarrhea, malaria, poor nutrition, tuberculosis, HIV, malaria, intestinal worms, cholera, and all this is related to what? And you know what it is, and we'll discuss it in detail. And so dysentery, hepatitis, giardia, tapeworms, typhoid, polio, which is very rare, I might add, and respiratory infections are all the diseases that we're talking about in Papua New Guinea. And you and I are involved in doing something about that. Now, my personal history is that I've done many medical mission trips all over the world. And finally, in the last 15 years, I spent all my time in Papua New Guinea. And this is the fourth quarter of my life, and I do not plan on sitting down, holding back, relaxing. I'm going to run all the way to the end, the goal line. And if I need help, then I'm going to get Barbara to help drag me across the goal. But at any rate, this is the best quarter of your life, and for me, and I love it. And my wife and I feel called, and in our Christian faith, we want to do something which is really helpful to others, and we're called to be in Papua New Guinea and make a huge difference. So I'm going to start out with the program here, and I want you to know that dirty water kills people, especially children. And dirty water, no sanitation kills people, especially children. Papua New Guinea has the highest infant mortality and maternal death rate of all the Pacific countries, and one of the highest in the world. And you are there helping make a difference. But together, we can be a major force to change and prevent deaths and illness, especially with children. Now, you all know this, the Rotary International Vision Statement. Maternal and child health. We have a medical clinic on our plantation that serves many people, have at least 100 deliveries a year. Disease prevention and treatment is our focus every day. It's the best day we can have in a medical clinic is when no one comes because they're all healthy. The maternal health and child health is so important. Conflict prevention and resolution, economic and community development. Are you not hearing me? Yeah. Okay, sorry. All right, I shall do that. And then if there's not clean drinking water and proper sanitation, none of the others exist. So this is where we are, and Rotary is putting our focus. Now, this is just a picture that I wanted to show you so you can have a better feel for what happens in Papua New Guinea. There's a lot of violence, tribal wars, domestic violence. Now, these 4 men are here because they didn't get the prostheses for hands that we took the last time we went. We were able to get 21 prosthetics to be used for hands, but they didn't get them because I treat the women first, and the women got all the prosthetic hands, and they have to wait till next time I come back with another 20 hands or so. And this summer we're going to take 50 hands, and these are low tech, and they're donated by companies, and it's an exciting process. But nevertheless, what you really generally see is the women have their arms chopped out because of domestic violence. Now, this is my introduction and your introduction. If a kid this age group is using a bush knife, playing with a bush knife, that tells you a little bit about the violence in Papua New Guinea. And so I just thought, run, Larry, run. This is what I was always chase the kids when we were hauling gravel or rocks, because that's the way I get 50 or 100 of them to come out and race me. They always win. But this time I ran fast because of the knife. Papua New Guinea Madon Water and Sanitation Project. That's us. That's you. And we appreciate your involvement. And doing it the Rotary way is so important because it's got to be sustainable. You go all over the world and you see wells and clinics that have been put in and now closed because it's not sustainable. Now, excuse me. Papua New Guinea is a long ways from here. And you go to the equator and turn one direction, you walk far enough, you're going to find it. It's just above Australia. We're 17 degrees below the equator. And our plantation and our focus that we're all involved in for the 40,000 people around there is at 5,500 feet high. It's the Garden of Eden. The sun shines every day. It rains every night. And it's warm during the day. And it's cool at nighttime. And so I go there and suffer in Papua New Guinea. And this is the coffee plantation that my wife and I own by default. We loaned until we owned. And so we went there, we're do-gooders, and we felt called to be there. And after much difficulty and problems, we now own 1,200 acre coffee plantation and tea plantation. And it's an economic wheel for that area. And it's a social business. We don't really expect money back. We just hope to take care of needs and problems of those communities. And we're a real plantation from the seed till it's shipped. We export, we do all the processing, we do all the husbandry, and then we export and import coffee all over the world. And this is, I want you to take a good look at this, because we're talking about rainwater, and lots of it, and where's a good source for clean water? Buildings like this, roofs, and there's another set of buildings back here and to behind us in this picture that has that number of roofs as well. So just be aware of that. Men do, not traditionally, men do dominate Papua New Guinea society, and gender imbalance runs very deep. The women are property. You buy your wife. You own her. She has no rights, no privileges. It's terrible. I would hate to be a woman in Papua New Guinea. There's polygamy and other issues that are going on, but the woman is what makes a difference. She takes care of the children. She does all the work, and men sit around and act like warriors, and they won't take certain jobs because it's below them. But the women are who we are working with, and we'll talk about that a bit as we go along. Life expectancy is low. I may be the oldest man in Papua New Guinea when I'm there. Well, there's sure other people there, but I am very, very old in Papua New Guinea. I might even be very old here. Mortality rates are very high, and so there are many great needs of the rural village people in Papua New Guinea. I just want you to understand that domestic violence is a big deal. Women's lot and plight in life is very bad. And so we'll want to go over that. Now, there's 4 diseases in Papua New Guinea. Do you know what those are? You can probably guess. There's infection. There's infection. There's infection. And why would that be? Would dirty water be a possibility? Would poor sanitation be a possibility? And then there's everything else. In our medical clinic, where we see 10,000 patients a year, 90% of the kids that come in are from infections. 90%. And that's because they don't have clean water and proper sanitation. Therefore, what are their needs? If you wanted to solve some big problems, where would you start? How about starting with water? And is that enough? We hear about water all over the world. And everybody knows about water. The forgotten people in Papua New Guinea are the ones who are left out. Everybody knows about water, everybody knows about Africa, everybody knows about Central America. But there's a few of us, and you're part of those few, that know about Papua New Guinea. Water is important, but please, please do not forget sanitation. And you have to know that if you have 90% of the people who come to our clinic are there because of infection. If we just give them clean water, we'll decrease that number by 50%. If you also add sanitation, hand washing, proper use of bathrooms, etc., you'll cut it down another 45%. So we always talk about water, but never say the word water without saying sanitation. How bad is the problem? So here we go. I studied 35 schools in detail in a 10-kilometer radius of our plantation. There were 10,000 students and 40,000 people. That's K through 8th grade. They are the most vulnerable and most at risk. An in-depth study of 32 schools. Now, 32 schools, there's only two of those 32 schools that have adequate water. That's terrible. There's only 2 schools who almost have appropriate sanitation. That's terrible. And there's not one school I went to that I wanted to see the education curriculum for water and sanitation. Not one school in the 32 that I studied in detail had any curriculum. So water wells have been used, and we've done many of those, and get water, but the problem has been, as there's been more and more pit latrines and the high water level, ultimately they have problems with their wells, and what's worse is that the groundwater contamination from pit latrines. I put this well in probably 4 years ago, and since that time there have been about 20 pit latrines with less than 50 meters, and so that is now contaminated, even though it's been a good well. Now, how about this statistic? Here's a building with what kind of roof? A metal roof. And you get lots of water, so what do you think you could do with that water? And that water is precious. It's clean. It doesn't cost anything once you get the equipment all in place. But in Papua New Guinea, because of that much rain, there's lots of water, but it's all dirty. So together we're doing something about that. Now these kids need help. There's about 75 kids in this picture, and there'd be about another 10 kids that should be in this picture, but they've already died. And in our area, 13% of the kids that are born do not make it to 5 years of age. Now that's a rural area. Now it's better in certain areas, but there's 40,000 people where you and I are trying to serve that this is happening. And these kids are going to get infections. When they get infections, the mom is having to take care of them because no one else helps. She's going to miss any work she has. The kids are going to miss school. They have poor growth. They get behind. And so we need to be of help. The world is a community. And we're trying to serve the forgotten people in Papua New Guinea. And to those of us who have been given much, much is expected. And so here's a school that we will be working with as time goes on. What do you see? You see a metal roof, you see a gutter, not connected, and if it won't be very costly to fix that one. And where does the gutter downspout go? into the ground. What good is that? I mean, so what do you think it needs? Here's a tank that was been put in by somebody, and the water line to the tap is, we call it faucet, they call it a tap there, has been removed and not repaired. Now here's the metal tanks that put in. Metal tanks there last about 5 to 10 years, and then they rust out. And so we could fix that one. Oops, sorry. Don't want to feel that one very long. Do it. This one, we could fix this for $300 US by doing what's called a ferrous cement. We put it, line it with chicken wire and plaster it up on the inside, so you'd have a tank that would work great. And it would cost $2,000 to put a brand new plastic tank in. Now this is the school that you guys really contributed a major contribution to. It's a Warwick school. It's right next to the plantation. And this is their whole latrine toilet system. We call these latrines. What we're putting in, we're calling toilets. And this is a male and female, one each end. It's very poor privacy, as you can see. And this is only 2 holes, one for the boys, one for the girls, for 150 students. And this is what it looks like on the inside. High water table, groundwater is contaminated. It's hard to keep clean. And no wonder there's open defecation. If I had to use one of these, I believe I'd run out in the coffee plantation somewhere and find a clean spot. Lots of rain, the teens are wet and slimy and slick, and they're detestable. And this is one of those holes. I don't remember if this is the boys' side or the girls' side, but there it is. And we're not going to use it, and neither are they. Now this is a high, wow, I'm running out of time. Man, I gotta get going. This is high water table, okay? And it's bad, but they were planning on putting flushing toilets in. And so here were 4 flush toilets, and where were they gonna flush it into? The high water table. And where was it gonna go out? Right back into the ground. Here's a water catchment tank, which is everybody should have. And then we're gonna put flush toilets. This is the one nice toilet, and it was not properly cleaned. The kids think this is a squat toilet, so this is what they use. And this is right back into the water, high water level. This is wonderful. This is what you and I are going to do together. Much, much water could be made available. No gutters, no downspouts, no tanks. Again, Papua Guinea has the highest incidence of HIV in the Pacific region, high levels of violence against women, polygamy, promiscuous sexual mores, and lack of education. Clean water and proper sanitation are not optional, they are critical. This is our plantation and medical clinic and birthing center. And this is a school that's very good. This is one of the nicest schools around. Education of women and children are critical. School curriculum for sanitation and water has to be done. And we're working on that with the Department of Health and Department of Education. And we want water and sanitation training every year and every class and every school. And that's going to help us a lot. Women's literacy is critically important, and here are some of our 600 employees. World Health Organization and Washbag of Rotary present the information that hand washing and proper sanitation are as important as clean water. And this requires us to pay attention to that at Papua Guinea. We got to stop the unnecessary illness and death of poor or no sanitation and dirty water. You need to come and visit us, and when you come and visit us, you can stay in this nice plantation house, and you'll have a good time. And this is the team from the United States, from New Zealand, and Australia who came, the Rotary team, all scientists. This is the Rotary people that we're working with in Papua New Guinea. This is the local club we're working with. Good people, and this you know Bob Wopanoff, who is right there. He's from Olympia, and he's one of the 3 scientists and sanitation people who came. This is what we have to do with toilets. We got to raise them up. We got to separate the urine and the poop, and then we can start doing some work with that. The yellow tube and bucket is where we put the pee, the blue is where you put the poop, and then this is separated. There's a divider, and so when women sit down and pee, they pee somewhat forward, the men can obviously pee forward. And then we had the YWAM people, which is a group of young people who has a Christian organization, Youth with a Mission, who came and helped us, and they were wonderful and worked hard and did all the volunteer labor. And they were teaching the Papua New Guinea people how to do elevations and make sure that the gutters are running the right way. And then here's how they made the metal tanks. And here's your forms. You put it in a circle, you get it all fixed up, you get it into place, and then you start mixing it up, and all the young people who are so dedicated and worked so hard did this for us. And this is a boy from Centralia who we didn't meet until he came to Papua New Guinea, and we saw him there, and he was doing a lot of hard work, and we were proud of him. This is them after they did the outside, and they took that metal tube out, and then they did the inside. And here's the form to make the top of the tank, and it's reinforced with rebar, it's heavy, it's lifted. This is the receptacle, and you'll see how this goes. And then the sunrise, this is some of your contribution. This is the tank that you made, and you can see that the water is coming from 2 different buildings. And this is a water supply. On the first rain, it was clean and pure water. And the tippy tap, this is a cheap way to have hand washing stations. And we're having these at every school. And so we want 4 of them for each school at least. And we have developed some curriculum, and that's going to be refined and used again and again and again. This is the first school that we did. These are some of the students there. The school was out on vacation, but we got these kids to pose for a picture. And this is what we've done for latrines, that we actually call them toilets. We elevate it up, and then we'll put gravel around these, and then we'll build a shed over top of it with grass on top and the woven sides. And then that's where they will have privacy and a clean spot to be cleaned, and the poop and pee are emptied every day into nearby worm gardens and compost areas. Women do all the work. There's no dental care. This is some of the Rotary people who came to prayer dedication of the water, and my wife with the YWAM people. These kids were so incredible. They have a servant's heart. They'd work all day. Every night they'd go to separate churches and put music programs and dance programs on. We want every school building to have gutters and rainwater harvesting, and there'll be plenty of water for everybody. Now here's back at the plantation. We're going to have a community center over there where the sign is. We'll serve about 300 people there, and it'll provide a place for the whole community to learn how to do health and life issues with proper water and sanitation. And women are at risk, and every time they go for a walk to get water, they're at risk, as you can see. 85% of the women are abused or raped or have domestic violence. And if you wash your hands, you save lives. And Sunrise Rotary Club, you know that. And then you're back where you pee and poop. It means either death or life. And this school may have your name on it again. The kids are waiting and need your help. And the school wash program, which is a curriculum every year, every classroom for the first 8 years of their studies. Dirty water kills, especially children. And Barbara, do you want to make just a couple of comments?
90 seconds. You want to make sure we have time for some questions.
Well, we'll stay as long as you want.
Okay, thank you.
First of all, we would like to really thank Tacoma Sunrise Rotary for helping as a partner in our project. It really is important to us. I just want to summarize that we applied for the PPP team, which was Bob Webina and the team with Larry. It was a grant through Rotary International. We got the results back from that study, and the recommendation was to start with an early start project And so we did a district matching grant, which we got 50% match, and you guys were a part of. You guys helped that project at Wariki School. It was the very first one. It helped us to price out how much it costs to do some of these, to do 2 schools, a tank, the toilets, the education, make it sustainable. We have that information now, and now we're going that next step. We're going to be applying for the global grant. And so this is where we get matching money that's going to be 3.5 times to 1. And so it's been a learning process to figure out how to make that work, and we're taking our project and dividing it into smaller pieces. We have projects where you can help schools, because that's where the immune systems are really vulnerable. We have a central system that will be going in that starts at the top of the mountain, and it will harvest rainwater and have piping that goes down, and we'll have community centers. Those community centers will have areas for people to get water and women to wash clothes. There is a lot of rape and violence that happens at the river when women are washing their clothes, and these community centers are an integral part. So we will be dividing these into smaller grant opportunities. You'll be hearing more from us, and we really appreciate your support. So now we're going to be getting, for every dollar, 3.5 times. As our partner, we really appreciate your support. I understand nobody's going to be at DLTA, but there is going to be a showcase of global grant projects at DLTA, and we will be there. We have some cards backed by our reader board, and if you want to help in a bigger way, please let us know. You guys have an excellent website, so you obviously have people that are really good at that. We would love some of those skills because our club is limited that way. So anyways, thank you so much for being our partner.